They roared like thunder, wore the Mustang badge with pride, and turned heads on every street they ruled. But just as they began to make their mark, Ford pulled the plug. Imagine building the most iconic muscle machines in history, only to vanish them without warning. Some were born too wild, others too weird. A few were simply too far ahead of their time, but they all share one tragic fate. They disappeared. And what if I told you one of them could have changed Mustang history forever? Since its birth in 1964, the Ford Mustang has been the face of American performance. From track legends to high school dream machines, the Mustang was always meant to lead the pack. But what if I told you some of the greatest Mustangs ever created never got the chance to prove themselves? Today we're digging into the vault, uncovering 5 legendary Mustangs that Ford built, then made vanish. These aren't myths. They were real. They had engines, horsepower, and ambition, but for reasons ranging from politics to performance, they disappeared. Let's kick off the countdown with the wildest Mustang Ford ever let loose. And trust me, the deeper we go, the more jaw-dropping it gets. Top 5. The 1969 Mustang Boss 302 prototype. Ford's most powerful secret. It had the heart of a boss, the brawn of a Cobra jet, and the confidence of a king. But when it came time to make history, Ford hit the brakes, fast. The quarter horse wasn't just rare, it was practically mythical. 2 were made, 1 disappeared, the other was nearly forgotten. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a prototype. It was a warning shot from Ford that never got fired. Let's rewind to 1969. Ford was deep in the muscle car wars. Chevrolet had its Camaro Z/28. Mopar had its Hemi-powered beasts. And Ford? Ford had just dropped the Boss 302, a lean, high-revving road course weapon designed to dominate Trans Am racing. But not everyone at Ford wanted finesse. Some wanted fury. Behind closed doors, Ford's special vehicles crew had a vision. What if you combined the precision handling of the Boss 302 with the raw brutality of a big block 429 Super Cobra jet? The goal? Build a car that could crush on the track and bury everything on the street. And so, the quarter horse was born. Externally, it looked like a boss, but look closer and you'd notice subtle differences. A unique grille, custom fiberglass rear panels, hand-formed details that hinted this wasn't your average showroom muscle. But the real monster lived under the hood, a 429 Super Cobra Jet V8 ripped straight from the Torino Cobra, paired with drag pack hardware and an oil cooler. It was one of the most potent combinations Ford had ever assembled, and it was wrapped in a Mustang body. The result? A one-off that screamed louder than any Mustang before it. Now here's where the story goes sideways. Internally, the quarter horse became a political landmine. Ford's racing divisions were split. The Boss 302 team wanted to keep their car pure, focused on balance, not brute strength. Meanwhile, the 429 camp wanted nothing less than total domination. And stuck between them, the quarter horse, too radical for production, too powerful to ignore. Instead of choosing sides, Ford chose silence. Only 2 quarter-horse prototypes were ever built, both in 1969, both slightly different. One was allegedly used for evaluation and then mothballed in Ford's engineering facility. The other surfaced briefly in private ownership before disappearing again, like a ghost in the archives. Worse, Ford never documented the car publicly. No brochures, no press releases, no road tests. It was an off-the-books legend, known only to insiders and whispered about by hardcore Mustang historians. The tragedy of the quarter horse isn't just that it was fast, it's that it could have rewritten Mustang history. Imagine the message it would have sent. Ford wasn't just about handling, Ford had the horsepower to bury everything else. Imagine a boss that could go head-to-head with the 426 Hemi. A Mustang that didn't ask for respect, it took it. But Ford let it die in development. The quarter horse became the greatest what if in Mustang's golden era. One car, one engine, one chance to scare the hell out of the competition. And Ford blinked. But what they built next? It didn't just push the limits. It broke the laws of logic with 10 liters of pure insanity. Top 4. The 1995 Ford Mustang Boss 10L. A Mustang with a 10-liter engine? It wasn't a myth. It rumbled, it ran, and then it vanished. It's the kind of car that sounds like it came from a fever dream, or a dare. Or a group of SVT engineers left unsupervised with too much budget and not enough adult supervision. It's the mid-1000s 990S. The SN95 Mustang is fresh off the assembly line, a clean slate redesign that tried to bring Mustang back to its roots while nudging it toward the future. But Ford's Special Vehicle Team, SVT, wasn't interested in baby steps. They were thinking bigger. Much bigger. Enter the Boss 10 Lale one-off monster built to flex Ford's engineering muscle at the Detroit Auto Show. This wasn't just some sticker package or fancy paint scheme. No, this was a real-deal prototype powered by a V10 engine. And not just any V10. A 10-liter, 605 cubic inch aluminum block beast originally intended for Ford's Super Duty trucks. Imagine shoehorning an elephant into a trench coat and calling it a linebacker. That was the Boss 10L. The car sat lower than stock, but its presence towered. The hood needed a vent the size of a manhole cover. The front fascia was all attitude, and the interior? Stripped down like a track car, just gauges, a race seat, and your sense of disbelief. It was brutal, it was brilliant, and most of all, it was loud. Reports say the Boss 10L sounded like a rolling thunderclap. At idle, it shook the convention center floor. At full throttle, it could part crowds like Moses. So what happened? Despite the hype, the Boss 10L was never meant for production. It was a tech showcase, something to say, hey Chevy, we can still do crazy better than you. But behind the scenes, reality stepped in like a wet blanket. The engine was never emission certified, crash tests were a bureaucratic nightmare, and frankly, the idea of selling a 10-liter Mustang during the Clinton-era fuel economy push, yeah, not ideal. Ford shelved it faster than a canceled sitcom. The car was loaded onto a trailer, wheeled out of Detroit, and locked away. No press drives, no dyno numbers, no dealership ordering codes. Just blurry photos, a few grainy auto show clips, and endless forum threads arguing whether it even existed. Did it run? Yes. Was it fast? Probably terrifying. Could it have outrun a Viper or a ZR1? Maybe. But Ford never let it stretch its legs long enough to find out. Rumors say the V10 platform lived on in Ford's HD truck development, possibly influencing the Triton series. But the Mustang body? Gone. Not crushed, but not seen since. Think of it like Area 51 on wheels. And here's why it hurts. Because the Boss 10L was proof that Mustang still had its wild side. That under all the safety standards, the focus groups, the brand alignment, there were still madmen in Dearborn who believed in horsepower for horsepower's sake. It was a statement, and then it was gone. Ford built a fire-breathing V10 Mustang just to prove it could, and then vanished it like a magician's rabbit. But what they quietly released next, it wasn't just rare, it was hidden in plain sight, and almost nobody knew what it was capable of. Top 3. The 1971 Mustang Mach 1 Super Cobra Jet Drag Pack. It had the looks, it had the 429, it had the drag pack, so why did Ford pretend it never happened? Because when it came to brutal straight-liner speed in 1971, this Mach 1 wasn't just a contender, it was the dark horse no one saw coming. The year was 1971, and the Mustang had grown up. Literally, it was longer, wider, and beefier than ever before. Some called it bloated, others called it bold. But whatever your take, the Mach 1 version looked like it was ready to brawl in a stoplight. Standard versions came with the mild-mannered 302, but if you knew the secret handshake at your local dealer, you could order the real beast, the 429 Super Cobra Jet with the drag pack. This wasn't just an engine upgrade. It was Ford's version of launching a surface-to-surface missile from a two-door coupe. 375 horsepower, a forged crankshaft, 391 traction lock rear end, functional ram air, transmission oil cooler, and enough torque to reverse the Earth's rotation, if you were pointed in the right direction. This wasn't just numbers on a brochure. This was a factory-built monster capable of laying rubber from one state line to another. In the golden age of Detroit muscle, the SCJ drag pack Mach 1 was as serious as a heart attack, just delivered at 6,000 RPM. So why doesn't anyone talk about it? Because Ford didn't want them to. By 1971, the muscle car era was already facing its final act. Insurance companies had started treating horsepower like a crime. Emissions regulations were getting stricter, and the public? They were buying Pintos and Datsuns, like the world was running out of octane. Ford read the room, and instead of waving the 429 flag, they buried it, quietly. Dealers were discouraged from promoting it. Brochures mentioned it in the fine print, barely. No commercials, no magazine spreads, just silence. Internally, the marketing team feared backlash. An already oversized Mustang packing nearly 400 horsepower in a world that was panicking about smog and safety? That wasn't just controversial, it was corporate suicide. So, the SCJ drag pack slipped through the cracks. No one was told how potent it was. No one was shown what it could do. The result? Most buyers never even knew it existed. And those who did? Well, let's just say they weren't talking either. Probably because they were too busy launching themselves down quarter miles in 13 seconds flat. Today, the 1971 Mach 1 Super Cobra Jet Drag Pack is one of the most overlooked high-performance Mustangs ever made. It looked like a boulevard cruiser, but underneath, it was pure Detroit rage. It had the soul of a drag car and the body of a grand tourer. Collectors now chase them like hidden treasure, and VIN decoders are essential tools when hunting one down. SCJ-equipped Mach 1S are among the rarest street-legal monsters Ford ever unleashed, and the ones they told no one about. Even now, casual Mustang fans still assume the 1971 model year marked the beginning of the end, but the SCJ drag pack proves that wasn't true. It was a last act of defiance, quiet, brutal, and beautiful. It had the firepower to dominate the streets, but Ford muted it like an embarrassing family secret. What came next, though? Ford went off the deep end and tried turning a Mustang into something that looked like it escaped from Maranello. Top 2. The 2004 Ford Mustang GTR concept. The Mustang that could have ruled Le Mans. It looked like a Mustang, it roared like a Mustang, but it wasn't built for your local drag strip or your local dealership. No, this was a Mustang built for war. A war fought not on Main Street, but on the high-speed straights of Le Mans. And just as it prepared to launch Ford into a new era of global dominance, they shut it down. In 2004, Ford was celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Mustang, an icon reborn with the S197 generation. Retro styling, V8 rumble, muscle car swagger, it was everything fans wanted. But behind the curtain, Ford's engineers were cooking something radically different. A machine that didn't just look fast, it was bred for endurance, for violence, for international respect. That machine was the Mustang GTR concept. Unveiled at the New York Auto Show in 2004, the GTR was a full-throttle declaration that Ford wanted the Mustang to evolve. This wasn't a tribute car. It was a racer in disguise, dressed in carbon fiber armor and born with a purpose: to dominate global GT-class racing. Under the hood sat the legendary 5L Cammer V8, a DOHC aluminum block beast, producing over 440 horsepower in naturally aspirated form. Engineered to rev high, hit hard, and survive the punishment of 24-hour races. It was paired with a 6-speed transmission, a race-tuned suspension, and carbon brakes worthy of an F1 paddock. But it wasn't just about power. The GTR's chassis was based on the upcoming 2005 Mustang, but enhanced with seam-welded reinforcements, a wide-body stance, and aerodynamic elements tuned for downforce, not drag. The massive front splitter, the flared fenders, the center exit exhaust, it screamed aggression and precision. Inside, a stripped-down all-business cockpit with a full roll cage, race buckets, telemetry displays, and not a single concession to comfort. This wasn't your neighbor's GT. It was a scalpel for circuit warfare. But for all its brilliance, the Mustang GT-R never turned a single competitive lap. Why? Because Ford got cold feet again. Despite the GT-R being fully functional and race-ready, it was never homologated. The plan to enter it into FIA GT or American Le Mans Series never materialized. The 5-camera V8, while potent, was never mass-produced in street-legal form. The support never came from the top. Ford had the weapon, but refused to pull the trigger. Internally, whispers pointed to budgeting concerns, shifting priorities, and the looming pressure to make the new S197 Mustang a mass-market success. The idea of promoting a $200,000 race Mustang while selling V6 rental cars on the showroom floor? Corporate nightmare. So they did what they've done to so many brilliant Mustangs before. They shelved it. Quietly. No follow-up development. No track program. No special edition. Just a one-off concept, rolled out for photo ops, and then locked away in Ford's Skunk Works vault. The Mustang GT-R became a phantom, a dream of what Mustang could have been had it dared to go global, had it dared to fight Ferrari on their turf, had it dared to evolve. It's maddening because everything was in place. The GT-R had the engine, the aero, the pedigree, and the platform. It wasn't some sci-fi experiment like the RSX. It was real. It was tangible. It was ready. But it scared the marketers, scared the bean counters, scared the legacy. Because what if it succeeded? What if Mustang became more than muscle? What if it became world class? Today, the GT-R concept sits in a warehouse, flanked by dust and regret. But some say it's not dead, that the 5-camera engine lived on, secretly influencing Ford Performance's crate engine programs, that design elements from the GT-R crept into later track monsters like the GT350R and GTD, that pieces of its soul still haunt the wind tunnels at Dearborn. But here's the question that haunts every Mustang fan who's seen it. What if they had let it race? Would we be talking today about a Mustang GT-R Le Mans dynasty? Would the Mustang name have meant more than retro styling and straight-liner speed? Ford had the future in their hands, and they let it go. And what came next? Ford didn't just flirt with danger, they invited it into their design studio and gave it 10 liters of vengeance. Top 1. The 2000 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra R. Cancelled Successor. The 2000 Cobra R was a street-legal track weapon, but what they planned next, it scared even Ford. A Mustang so advanced, so brilliant, it didn't just aim to outgun the Camaro, it wanted to knock on Ferrari's door and ask for a brawl. Let's rewind to Y2K. While everyone was hoarding bottled water and rebooting their computers, Ford's special vehicle team was busy rewriting the muscle car rulebook. The 2000 Cobra R hit like a freight train. No rear seat, no A/C, no radio. Just a hand-built 5.4L DOHC V8 pushing 385 horsepower, a Tremec T56 speed, Brembo brakes, and E-Bach coilover. It wasn't a Mustang, it was a missile with mirrors. But Ford wasn't done. Inside the Skunk Works, a plan was brewing. A successor to the 2000 Cobra R, one that would transcend the pony car label entirely. Word leaked of a lightweight aluminum buck V8 with over 400 horsepower, independent rear suspension tuned for track balance, carbon fiber hood and fenders, wider wheels, stiffer bushings, and downforce optimized aero. This car wasn't just aiming to outperform the Camaro or the Corvette, it was gunning for Porsche's 911 GT3. But just as this dream began to breathe, reality drop-kicked it in the face. The SVT team, despite their brilliance, was stuck in a corporate maze. Budget cuts hit hard after Ford faced internal restructuring. Simultaneously, the upcoming S197 Mustang, with its retro styling and mass appeal, was fast-tracked for 2005. The idea of launching a $50,000 plus stripped-down race Mustang with no creature comforts during a global market pivot? Too risky. So, Ford did what Ford sometimes does. They shut it down. The car never made it past internal testing. No photos, no prototypes seen outside Ford. A few CAD drawings and whispers in enthusiast forums are all that survived. It was unceremoniously buried before it could hit the dyno. Why does it sting so much? Because this Cobra R Successor was more than a performance car. It was a philosophy. A promise that Mustang didn't have to compromise. That American muscle could grow up without growing soft. The original Cobra R was already savage, but this next version, it was supposed to be surgical. Imagine a 400-plus horsepower, iris-equipped, aerosculpted track weapon with Mustang DNA and European finesse. The kind of car that made Z6S sweat and forced M3S to check their mirrors. A Mustang without apologies. And now, it's vaporware. A ghost car. One that haunts Mustang lovers who know just how close we came to a world-class super coupe. The S197 arrived and was a sales hit, no doubt. Retro styling, GT500S and Boss 302S brought smiles back to the brand. But to the hardcore faithful, something was lost. That untamed edge, that glimmer of Ford daring to play in the big leagues, quietly faded. We got Shelby GT500S later, yes, but with weight and refinement that the Cobra R Successor would have cast aside like a wet sock. It would have been the Mustang for people who think Nürburgring lap times matter more than chrome trim. Could it have sold? Maybe not in huge numbers. But it didn't have to. The 2000 Cobra R only had 300 units. The Successor? It could have been 500. Each one a unicorn. A middle finger to compromise. Ford didn't just kill a car, they paused a vision. What happened to the parts? The plans? Did someone keep a prototype in a secret bunker in Dearborn? No one knows. But here's what we do know. Every few years, someone leaks a sketch, a file name, a whisper of what could been. And we remember. Because the Mustang isn't just about what was, it's about what almost was and what still might be. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into one of Ford's greatest what-ifs. If this story surprised you, frustrated you, or sparked a memory, drop a comment below. We want to hear what you think Ford should have done. If you love muscle car mysteries, high-octane history, and deep cuts from Detroit's vault, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Top 5 Muscle Cars. We've got more untold stories, canceled legends, and underrated beasts coming your way. And trust us, the next one might just be even wilder. Until next time, keep your tack high, your tires warm, and never underestimate what's hiding in a canceled prototype. Stay loud, stay curious, and stay subscribed.